Welcome to Buchardt Audio. My name is Buchardt, and today I will be talking about the E50, which you see right here. Now, this speaker is something that is very close to my heart. It does represent what I started working on back in 2008, where the roots of Buchardt Audio started, and the idea and the base principle back then was that I wanted to create a speaker that was both compact, that has extremely good bass reach, so it doesn't necessarily call for a subwoofer, and also something that has much higher value for money than what you usually get out there. That has been the baseline of basically all of our speakers to this date. This is now the pinnacle of what we can do. It's a completely uncompromised design where no matter where you look at it, it has an absolutely outstanding build quality from both the cabinet to all of the components that are used, and we have just taken an uncompromised approach to this design. And it is something that is only possible now because we have our own cabinet production. So building a speaker out of solid wood with this attention to detail is not something that you can outsource. You need to do it yourself. So I will go over some of the parts used, how it sounds, and hopefully that it might be a speaker that has interest for you. In terms of the parts that goes into building the E50, one of the first things that you will notice, besides the beautiful cabinet of course, will be the Purify woofer. Now, this is a woofer that we have worked with for quite a few years now, but it is the first time that we are implementing it into a passive design. Now, the reason why we use the Purify woofer is that for a two-way design where you're demanding both mid-range and bass from the same woofer, there is nothing that comes even close to doing what this can achieve in a design like this. So it allows us to play both extremely loud, much louder than you normally would in a design like this, due to the very long stroke design that it has. So it can just simply push out a lot more air than your typical woofer can. It can play at those extreme levels without any hint of distortion, which is something that is very unusual for a woofer when it starts to move as violently as this can. And the last thing is that it allows us to tune the speaker to play extremely deep bass as well. So it basically turns a compact speaker like this into doing what many want to achieve with a floor standard speaker, without going into a more complex design. Two-way stand mount speakers are always some of the designs that are known for having the best soundstage and imaging, but they typically lack in bass reach and output capabilities. That has all been fixed with this woofer basically, and you get the best of both worlds in this. So next up, one of the things that you'll see is of course the tweeter that are now used in this custom-made waveguide for it. The tweeter we have partnered up with Scanspeak, which is a legendary Danish driver manufacturer. It has been heavily modified but built upon one of the existing classic tweeters that has been around for decades now. And those combinations, along with what we've done with the crossover, has turned this tweeter into something that is truly remarkable, especially for when you are running the speakers at quite low volumes. It is still a speaker that sounds extremely lively and dynamic. And for the tweeter, you of course also get a front grille if you want to use that, but not many would. Next up, we will go on the back, and you'll be seeing two of these passive radiators, which is something that we have worked with SB Acoustics on custom developing for this speaker, because their standard drivers, they didn't have the stroke distance needed to support the Purify woofer. So we needed to build something completely new there, and their engineers are here in Denmark, but it is actually the only part that goes into the E50 that are sourced outside of the EU. The second part that are within the EU but comes from a previous Danish manufacturer as well, Jensen Audio, is the crossover. Now, it is one of the highlights of the speaker, but sadly many people will never see it. So I'm happy to show it here to you right now, but it is built without any type of compromise. You have foil inductors, which is something that you never see in a speaker of this price range. Then you have Jansen's superior caps, which is very high-end caps. You have the cross caps, and you have air core inductors and super res resistors. All of that are on the highest quality PCB boards with the thickest copper lanes that we can possibly source. And connected with that, we have Dulon cables, which are made here in Denmark as well. Lastly, we have our terminals, which is something that we have worked on in cooperation with a Danish manufacturer called Agento Audio as well. They do terminals for some of the very high-end manufacturers out there, and we are very happy to work with them. It's a completely iron-free construction with a silver tube inside, and we have made these brass locking bolts for if you're using spades or naked wire. Of course, also take the banana plugs, and all of that is mounted into a brass plate that we also engrave and do here at Buchardt Audio. The cabinet is something that we are extremely proud of. We do them ourselves in our own cabinet facility. It is made out of the front from a 28mm solid wood piece of oak or ash, depending on what you are choosing of your finish. You can get it with sharp corners or the softly rounded corners like this, and it all has finger joints. That is more a visual thing on the speaker, but it is something that we are just extremely proud of the craftsmanship and the quality of this cabinet. The side panels and the back panels are made out of 19mm solid wood, so it's not the same thickness all the way around. So how does the E50 sound? It's a hard question to answer, but if we take a baseline in the S400 design, which has been our passive bread and butter speaker, the E50 was designed to be the next step up from that design, the S400 design. So we wanted it to be something that made sense if customers that already owned the S400, that they were to invest in something that was even better. That this speaker should not just be a small step in the right direction or even just another direction, but it should be something that is significantly better and worth the investment. So in terms of the S400, what you get with the E50 is you get something that plays larger. It plays a soundstage that is wider than the S400. Everything is bigger, but you have a more nuanced soundstage, and the refinement within the soundstage, each instrument is easier to pick out in it. The soundstage is deeper, the layering is better, and the overall refinement of the sound is far superior to the S400, but it still carries that easy to listen to, that organic and neutral sound that the S400 is so well known for. So it's a speaker that you can listen to for hours, and when we are listening to it, sometimes we forget to evaluate the speaker because it draws you in a lot more than what many other designs does, and I think that's one of the key factors of this the speaker, is that it's more about the music than judging how it sounds. Sounds odd, but I think it will make sense when you listen to it. Besides that, it has a lot greater dynamic range than the S400 has. It of course plays way louder and plays deeper than the S400, but one of its best achievements to me personally is how much better it sounds on low volume, which is something of a design like this. It's not something that you expect from the speaker. That is a pretty low sensitivity speaker. Those things typically don't go hand in hand, but it is a very energetic speaker at lower volumes, and it doesn't become harsh when you're starting to crank up the volume. So to me, it's just a very well-rounded speaker that does everything that you want it to do, with the only exception is that it's not a high sensitivity speaker, so it does need some power to get the full capabilities out of it. You of course can play it with low wattage amplifiers and tube amps with it, but don't expect it to play extremely loud with those types of amps. So if you want to have the full dynamic range out of the speaker, be sure to give it some power. And with that, that's all I have to say about the E50. If you have further questions, you are always welcome to email us. We will be ready to answer you within a day or two. So thank you for watching.